Okay. Hello, anybody and everybody. Sorry for the extra slight delay. I was trying to fix something with OBS. I can't see the chat here. This went completely white. So I'll just figure that out later. But some stuff happened in just the last couple days that I figured it was enough. I'll pop on for like half an hour here on Sunday. And since I just had the memory sparked, because today was the FIFA finals match, I went looking up the old stuff I remember from the 2010 one, the three different versions of Waving Flag that Kanan did, the one by himself, the one with David Bisbal, and one with will.i.am and a couple other guys. I can't find like the original one of that version with decent audio. The only ones people keep uploading are with a bit poorly mixed audio. But those are some really technically, it's all the same song, but each version has some different lyrics switched out. But those are like really, really good 2010, like uplifting, hopeful future songs, which you should definitely go listen to instead of what you had this year, which was several minutes of Shakira shaking her ass at the camera and just making noises. So this whole arrangement has continued. It's now been 1 week since the war restarted. And apart from sporadic random targets across land, including empty buildings, any building that likely potentially prearranged communication between Iran and the US just had something that looked like a satellite dish put on top of it. So it could be emptied out and then hit and then listed as a target, along with some actual hits, and a lot of those were on some of the like small lights keep flickering. I don't know if we're gonna lose power or something. Demand, it's a Sunday, so even though it's really hot, demand should not be that high. But a lot of the smaller harass and encircle uh, boats that Iran still had a bunch of were destroyed. There was a submarine here that was not, it wasn't actually like in service. It was under construction. It was like halfway complete, but Iran had stopped building it like 2 years ago because they kind of were starting to run out of the funding and were starting to lose the availability to actually get various parts and components for it. But also, at the same time, a number of tangible real stuff was also hit, including the primary bridges and highway connections leading in to the coastal city of Bandar Abbas. So that's had some people putting up the speculation that there's maybe going to be like some kind of amphibious landing seizure of the city or something like that, which would be kind of dumb. And I'm really not feeling it, but the current U.S. administration has done things that are kind of out of the well and beyond outside of the actual field of competently rational decisions. So you never know, maybe it might actually happen. And also, Iran did strike some real stuff as well, apart from uh, similar to the US striking a lot of empty buildings for the most part this week, especially in Bahrain with the now unused naval base, and a lot of stuff in Kuwait. They did after the U.S. struck like some real things, like the bridges around Bandar Abbas and the submarine construction thing, even though the submarine again was likely never going to really be finished. Iran launched a ballistic missile wave at a U.S. base in Jordan and did kill two service members yet to be identified, and also took out uh, un unknown total of several Blackhawks and Blackhawk helicopters and Reaper drones on the ground. I think it was like 5 or 6 Blackhawks and 3 Reaper drones, but don't quote me on that total just yet. And there was another, I believe, Army service member, Army infantryman, who was killed in northern Iraq as the Iranian backed various Shia militias have begun attacking stuff all over the place. Ah, So there have been several engagements with them over the past few days as well. And Iran also, what was the other? What was the other thing? Oh yeah, they did launch several missiles towards one of the key nodes and or slash pumping stations of the Saudi east to west pipeline, though those were intercepted. So unlike the first time that they did that back in early April or late March, this time it did not actually get through. And there was a 1-for-1 trade in that the U.S. Bombed and destroyed, or effectively destroyed the bridge, the engine room, etc., the ability for it to move and be functional. A oil tanker that was coming in to Karg Island to be filled up and then used for exports before, since they were still, the line of new stuff was still coming in to begin renewing the regular process. Although now that the blockade had been reinstated, it was probably just going to end up being used for floating storage. But the U.S. Took out one of those, didn't really touch any of the others, which again was kind of some of was kind of leaning on the whole scale tipping thing of this, like maybe 60-40 still being kind of a little joint feeder act, although now we're starting to drift a little bit into more real stuff. So it might have started as that, but now both sides are kind of like poking each other a bit more. And Iran, after having hit 3 uh, random vessels out here at the start of the week, which is what the U.S. used to jump back into things. One of which was a container vessel, or a commonly what people would usually be referring to as a cargo ship. The other 2 were bulk carriers. Iran this time also hit an actual oil tanker, uh, the bridge and the engine room, the same thing that happened with the one the U.S. struck on Karg Island. And so now that the market is open for tomorrow, oil's back up to $85. So if I am right, and it is kind of a joint feeder market pump and dump initiative, I'm waiting to see how high is high enough, how high do they want it to go before they're going to dump it, and then place their preemptive insider trading bets on that the price is about to collapse, and then announce a peace deal, cause the price to collapse, and then make bank off of having bet on the price collapsing. So I don't know how high they're going to go before then, whether they wanted to just hit triple digits and then cash out, but we'll see. It was down to 68 because of the market's lack of human intellect in the present day. But it's back up to 85 for the time being, and also some other price rise stuff. Like wheat has jumped back up to about $7 per bushel. This is in cents, not dollars. So it did jump up a bit because of the expected fertilizer disruptions initially, but a lot of the fertilizer stuff was able to get rerouted to other ports, as there's plenty of offloading capacity for non-oil stuff at the like Red Sea and Arabian Gulf ports of the various Persian Gulf nations, and Iraq could send stuff out through Syria, through Jordan down to Aqaba and up through Turkey. That stuff, can literally just be put on what few trains they have, but predominantly can also just be shipped in trucks. So that stuff, like physical solid material, not liquid crude oil, that also is not being moved in remotely the physical volumes the crude oil is. That stuff was easy enough to start rerouting, but now the price has been going back up for about a month, primarily because Russia is now expecting a 30% loss in its wheat crop yield and other grains this upcoming harvest, and also a fair bit of some of the wheat crop in, I believe, specifically South Dakota was really badly damaged by one of the recent mega heat waves, as for several days it was either South Dakota and parts of North Dakota, or it was South Dakota and parts of Nebraska. It was a really specific bubble where the highest temperatures were. Like for sake of just drawing general representation, it was like it's a really specific bubble right here where there were temperatures of over 105 degrees. That damaged a fair bit of the crop there. I think they're assuming like a 20% reduction, as for non-desert adapted plants, the usual rule of thumb is that photosynthesis ceases once you hit between 105 and 108 degrees. And also, there were several losses across India as well because of severe heat, and because it took their monsoon season several extra weeks to begin than it normally would have. So they lost a fair bit as well. And so their export margin, which was getting really thin already, as their population is now around or just a bit above 1.41 billion, whereas the amount of grains specifically they produce is 1.5 billion. So that margin has been getting really thin. And with the losses they took from the extreme heat earlier in the spring and even up into June, it looks like their total threshold will, instead of 1.5, end up being basically right at their domestic population level. So the global market is going to see most likely an absence of that 100 million people or so worth of food equivalent exports. So that's also coming in. Those are the three main angles that are weighing in on the price surge this time. Which means that you're not going to see or experience any kind of shortages. Most likely, anyone who's able to be like listening to the stream right now, you're going to see like bread prices and other things increase, but it's going to be uh, the heavily aid dependent nations that are going to end up suffering the most from this, because when there's reductions in excess, then the whether it's controlled by nations themselves or whether it's completely free market, one way or another, the decision gets made to explicitly, if they have to choose between those who are paying for it and those, I don't know why I drew a V, and those who need it but can't pay for it, then either the market or the governments of insert whatever country here, if they're forced to choose, they're going to choose the countries that can pay for it. So the actual crop loss that's been seen so far this year, and with add-on effects from last year, plus the initial disruptions of fertilizer shipments into such countries that were on the bottom of the recipient list for what food they can grow themselves. We're already looking at least several million people, again, heavily across the Sahel region, plus like uh, the CAR, Central African Republic, for the sake of abbreviation, South Sudan, Yemen. We're already looking at some decent, a handful of millions of people are probably going to go through famine death by the end of the year. Also, especially in Gaza, since they are completely dependent on outside aid recipients, and the only aid that goes in is whatever the IDF decides to allow to go in, which has consistently been enough to make it look like they're not, or to try to be able to continue giving off the public excuse of we're not deliberately starving everybody to death, but enough to, leave that top 30% absent so that the population continues to gradually starve to death. The same with medical supplies and everything, obviously. So the amount going in to Gaza has consistently, ever since the ceasefire a year and a half ago, it's pretty consistently been kept at only 70% of whatever amount the remaining and consistently decreasing remaining population needs, so that the remaining population obviously continues to decrease, as is the end goal, and as is no longer even like a pseudo pretending it's a conspiracy theory, but not, because everyone knows it's happening. It's not even in that category anymore. It's now just public. Netanyahu's said it like 50 billion times. Numerous other Israeli officials have said that that's what they're doing 50 billion times, that they're just going to seize Gaza and annex it. And I think even though he was supposed to keep quiet about it, even Trump publicly said that a bunch of times, and he made that creepy AI video. I don't know if you guys remember. He made a creepy AI video about where he had the AI portray Gaza, or a future Gaza, as like uh, beach resort strip line place, like it looked like Miami in Israel, with and with I don't know, he included like belly dancer girls and everything, but the AI kept like changing the number of tits they had. Like one second, the girl had four boobs, the next second she had two, then she had one, then she had six. I still remember that because that was one of the most mentally scarring things I've ever seen, coming straight from the White House Twitter account. Has chat fixed itself? Nope. All right, I have to actually look via YouTube. Oh, dang, we got a lot of people pretty fast. If you just showed up in the last couple of minutes, scroll back along the timeline. It is available, or uh, it should be available to scroll back along. And if you also just showed up, go listen to the old Canaan waving flag songs from the 2010 FIFA. They're not actually about FIFA. They're just like songs that are about the future and are about being hopeful about the future. All right. There's nothing I need to react to. So let's go. Yeah. Let's go down, make sure I didn't forget anything Iran related before moving on to Ukraine and Russia. So yeah, a few Reaper drones were destroyed on the ground at the base in Jordan. Uh, yeah, and the ballistic missiles impacted the personnel housing area at the base and killed two servicemen. Oh yeah, random stuff. I found India's domestic space, outer space industry is actually expanding pretty rapidly. So random, spontaneously random, good news jump scare. Uh, blah blah blah. Public statements about how we're no longer negotiating, which probably means the price isn't climbing as fast as they want it to. So got to make sure it gets up higher and gets up there faster. This was the actual missile impact at the base of Jordan, but that's moment of death stuff, so I'm not playing that. Footage of HIMARS firing. So much different stuff about the massive Russian warehouse. Oh, yeah, here's stuff from one of the various destroyed bridges. All of the primary roads that can handle like actual traffic in and out and shipments and stuff in and out of Bandar Abbas are now out of commission. Uh, the only ones that are left are like narrow. These are mountain slopes. Are like those really narrow mountain hugging roads that you see in like footage from Peru and Chile, where it's only like one vehicle wide, and anytime like cars and or trucks going in opposite directions like encounter each other, they have to get like really creative and go for miles in different directions together until they find a spot that's just wide enough for them to pass each other without one of them falling over the edge, and typically also involves them scraping against each other in the process. Those are the only type of roads into Bandar Abbas remaining. Excuse me, that's not what I said for you to do. So that's where the suspicion some people have come up with that that was a ground reinforcement logistics cutoff meant to like preempt a U.S. amphibious invasion of the city, which I really don't see it. But since I just said that, that means it'll probably happen now. Might be one of the only things left they can do to get a super price pump, for all I know. And up here, things continue. So, as you know, Ukraine has been hammering away at Russian commercial maritime vessels in the Azov and Black Sea, with the number of total vessels that have been disabled by strikes on their bridges and to their engines now in excess of 150. cross a wide range, everything from oil tankers to container vessels, general cargo loaders, bulk carriers, tugboats, uh, various various things that have all been hits, and hits on the bridge kind of take out the crew, which is much more difficult to replace than just replacing engine parts if the engine is not too damaged. And some of the few remaining electrical distribution substations on Crimea were also struck. So it's primarily Sevastopol that is retaining electricity, and it's now kind of being forced into a position of retaining that via a more improvised non-power plant generator network. And in response, Russia has managed to now hit three three whole commercial maritime vessels going to and from Ukraine, with supposedly hitting a big whopping grand total of number 4 this morning. So that's 2 container vessels and 2 bulk carriers. And they did strike one of the container loading dock terminals in Odessa. But other than that, everything else has predominantly been the pretty Russian standardized apartment building and preschool playground strikes in Kiev and Poltava. Apart from Kiev, Poltava seems to be their newfound favorite target. And the huge swath, as we've talked about, of oil and gas refining capacity is down, along with the gargantuan chunk as well of oil storage capacity at various terminals, with some of the few remaining now being hit as well, such as this storage terminal in Moscow. One of the few ones left is this little mosquito facility. Is some of the stuff they're having to resort to relying on. And where's the other one? This one in Stavropol. Stavropol was hit as well. Oh yeah, that's number 4. Because they hit one ship 4 days ago or 3 days ago, and then this is the third within the last 48 hours. So the grand total is now 4. Also, one of their strategic bombers of dwindling number was also taken out, but that's slightly of less significance than the big news item that everyone has seen, which was this massive electrostal over here. This massive domestic ground freight logistics warehouse. One of those like multiple square kilometer sized ones that you'll see if you ever go up in a plane or you just look up pictures on Google. You'll see them, uh, the distribution hub things, and they'll be like all the trucks will be like literally these tiny little dots all around it, and though you can see like thousands of trucks. As I can't even actually hold on. Let me try to correctly size it. Like this, all the trucks would be like these tiny little dots around it. So one of those was hit 2 days ago, and this is what remains. But you saw one of the main pictures in the thumbnail. uh, and there's all kinds of various different footage from it. And to give you an idea of how far and wide the this is the doomsday volcanic smoke cloud coming from this multi-square kilometer logistics warehouse facility spreading over and around the actual city of Russia. And then you have, I think that's their knockoff Amazon uniform. So I'm assuming these are these, yeah, okay, and the label, the corporate label is purple. So those are the workers. I was wondering for a second why there were people just like taking a casual stroll next to like a mile wide burning building. But yeah, there's so much footage and snapshots people have gotten of this place at different stages of its burning, but it's gone. And this was the second largest mass distribution hub, legit ground freight warehouse in the country. I don't know what or where the largest one is, but this was the second largest one apparently. All right, dude, come on. You don't film stuff if you're going to be in like 140p. This isn't the 80s. See, it's acceptable here because you're zooming in from far away with a phone camera. You should have an actual camera like Maxagear does, but Maxagear only has that because that's left over from. Oh, you saw one of the strikes happen right there because his actual photography camera is left over from the days when he had a decently paying job, the pre-2020 era, as we all recognize it now. Stuff driving by a few miles away on the highway. As you see now, it's where it's starting to spread across the whole place. So not just the warehouse, but likely a bunch of trucks were also lost in the process. Can we get larger? Thank you. Oh, and there's it as the walls are coming down. Okay, dude, you have to have your phone programmed to actually switch to lateral mode. You can't just flip it like that. Far away twin volcanoes version and a still image as it was beginning to spread. Image from space of the smoke plume at its maximum extent to give you like the sheer size and scale of the facility that burned down. This was the result of it burning down. Oh, there's the still image that I took for the thumbnail. Once the fire had completely spread across the entire facility, the two twin volcanic eruption plumes had merged together into one as the whole thing burned down. Oh, and I guess this is late stage stuff from, yeah, once it had fully burned down. And then to also show you how debilitated things have become, then after everything's already gone, then firefighting equipment is then able to show up and start putting out a fire that no longer really exists because it's burned through everything. Because the aviation fuel is has been getting diverted for one to the military, and for two, trying to increase, trying to increasingly prop up the ever dwindling number of actual domestic flights in Russia to keep the customer base somewhat pacified and provide an excuse for still saying everything is normal, nothing is wrong. Yeah, that thing is gone now. We'll see if they hit another, but I I would assume now the primary targets, now that most of the refineries that are within strikeable range, which is basically every refinery that is not in the far east of Russia or in like heartland Siberia, now that most of the refineries are either down completely or at substantially reduced production rates, I would assume the next primary target set Ukraine's going for is going to be the pipelines and pumping stations themselves, which they've hit a few times and caused significant disruptions. So if they do, if they do more of a sudden mass campaign shotgun, uh, oops, no, need to fix that. Go back up here. More of a mass rapid campaign shotgun blast to said network, like they did with the refineries around the country over the last few weeks, that would rapidly see the actual oil movement capacity collapse, which would then force production shutdowns at a lot of stuff, then cause the associated revenue collapse and the associated field damage, et cetera, et cetera. But also, now that Russia's maritime shipping capacity has been so damaged in the Black Sea and Sea of Azov, that's going to cut off the, I believe Novorossiysk is 1.2 million barrels per day of export capacity. Now that stuff has been so damaged there, they also might go after Russia's Caspian Sea maritime stuff. Or actually, since they can reach Leningrad and St. Petersburg, they might as well start hitting any of the commercial maritime fleet they can right there within that section. See if Russia actually has any air defense or whatnot to try to put there, or if it, like I said last time, is everything that they have left for air defense is all clustered up around that one puckered anus in the middle. Not that it actually stopped anything, but that's where it is. All right. Was there anything else that I'm forgetting about elsewhere? I don't think so, other than Afghanistan and Pakistan quietly started fighting again. I say quietly only in the sense that the global like the global like news media network isn't really paying attention to it because everyone's primarily focused on the Iran war and the Ukraine Russia war because those are the two that are like having a substantial effect on the world. But Pakistan and Afghanistan just started another border war. Technically, you can argue it's all been one continuous one for the last year and a half. But if you want to argue every time they stop shooting for 4 months and Pakistan stops bombing Afghanistan for 4 months, that counts then as a separate war, then technically this would be the fourth time they've gone at it in the last year and a half. But similarly, the world collectively is not really paying attention to what's happening in Sudan. Like the upcoming encore, the sequel to that big massacre of 160,000 people last year. The government forces can't really hold the line now that they're not being backed anymore. Saudi Arabia has temporarily stopped really backing them, whereas the UAE is apparently still managing to back the RSF, and they're pushing further again. They're starting to push the government forces back, and they're about to overrun another large settlement, this time of nearly 200 or 200 plus thousand people of the same like pseudo ethnic group that they massacred last time. So everyone's expecting they're probably going to do another multi 100,000 person massacre. No one's really paying attention, and no one's really apparently interested in stopping it. But that is a thing that's about to happen again. So we're in a few weeks or a few months, probably going to see another wave, just like last year, of a bunch of time lapse satellite pictures over the course of several days, showing showing a bunch of like empty buildings suddenly being completely razed to the ground over the course of a few pictures, and then seeing satellite pictures of piles of bodies with smoke plumes trailing off to the side, and then the appearance of the mounds of mass graves. So we're going to see the same whole process play out again. Because the two generals who overthrew the previous general decided they were going to fight each other afterwards, which they ended up doing. And Saudi Arabia backed one, and the UAE backed the other as a means of uh, dick measuring without actually doing the dick measuring, because that's socially unacceptable. Just like how, you know, it's socially acceptable to go through wars and cause the death and suffering of millions, but assassinating political leaders, even when everyone agrees that they're the sole real driving force behind a particular war happening, that's considered internationally illegal. That's socially unacceptable. The deaths and starvation of millions, that's perfectly fine. Assassination of one dude, that is unacceptable. Actually, just measuring dicks, that's socially unacceptable. That's gay. Uh, Wasting your country's money, keeping your your citizenry from having like functional sewage systems because you spend all the money building kilometer tall skyscrapers as your improvised dick measuring contest, that is socially acceptable. Also spending your country's money propping up two warlords in Sudan so that you two can have a proxy battle, that again, that's also socially acceptable. Yep, still busted. Well, I can see kind of stuff there on the actual display of it. Can I change the setting? Can I right click this? Can I change only movement and size? I'm gonna have to look up how to mess with that. Properties, settings. Are there any chat settings? Advanced, appearance, no. General. Oops, no. Did not meant to do whatever that was. Just cancel. I'll have to fix that off stream. Okay, that's probably the end of everything, unless there's anybody else here who's alive. I should have switched this to live chat. Oh, that doesn't make a difference. Never mind. All right. So I'm going to try to fix that for my own sake, to be able to read that easier. But I'm also going to mess around with stuff on OBS on Josh's old gaming tower because I cannot get my microphone and Twitch to cooperate. I'm probably going to end up getting a new one at some point really soon. But until then, I would still like my audio on Twitch streams to not be terrible. So I'm going to try one more person's set of like audio settings and filters that uh, millions of people have liked apparently. So it should theoretically actually work with a old Blue Yeti mic. But if even that doesn't work, then I'm just kind of screwed for audio on Twitch at least until I get whatever that thing is Josh told me to get. But one way or another, link to my Twitch should be in the description down below the stream. But tomorrow night, make sure I shut myself up before the replay starts. Yeah, last night we did Dark Souls 2, and tomorrow night you can see the stuff on the schedule. It really should be showing Monday already. I don't know why it's not. Oh, next week. Monday nights, for the time being, I'm going to be going through the first Ratchet and Clank game. And then for the time being, Gauntlet Dark Legacy is on Wednesdays. And I'm going to be doing anything and everything Dark Souls plus related. It's going to be on Saturday nights, but everything's going to be this is in Alaska time. So Eastern time, the one everyone usually references, everything's going to be usually from 7 to 11. But I don't see anything else coming up. So that's going to be it. The oil demand data releases tomorrow, so I'll try to make that video faster than I made the oil production levels one. And then the I failed to make it last month, so I'll make the electricity demand levels video again. And at the end of the month, the monthly updates on the continued uh, cessation of proper existence of the Colorado River's associated reservoirs, and thusly, unless emergency measures are taken to restore the flow of it, the Colorado River itself in its entirety, as Lake Mead in particular, you can see this is the part of the year where it normally should level out because snow melt is coming down from the Rockies. Nope, it's still going down. It's still going. So I will maybe see some of you guys on Twitch tomorrow night, but if not, then I'll see you here on Tuesday. And I am off.